Good afternoon or morning for those on the West Coast and in Alaska. My name is Christine Celentano, and I work as LIHEAP Tribal Training and Technical Assistance Program Manager for Tribal Tech. This is the first LIHEAP Tribal webinar in a series of 2 for the current fiscal year. It is Tribal Tech's job to furnish training and technical assistance to LIHEAP Tribal Grantees. We do this through developing materials for conferences, webinars, travel for on-site technical assistance visits, and tribal roundtables. As part of our scope, we work collaboratively with other contractors under the Division of Energy Assistance, including the Apprise team, who is furnishing training and technical assistance on performance measurements and management. Apprise has agreed to help us out today, providing tribal grantees with a checklist for optimal data system management design and to assist in answering questions about overall LIHEAP data management and why this is important. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Vicki Pretlow, who is a program analyst with the Division of Energy Assistance and the Tribal Liaison. Vicki?
Thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Vicki Pretlow, and I'm the Regional Liaison for Regions 7 and 8. I would like to welcome everyone to our webinar today on managing LIHEAP tribal program information for planning and decision making. We'd like to thank you all for joining us today and making time for this session. Next slide. We have several objectives for this webinar today. They're listed here and are as follows. We will first learn about different tribal data management systems and how they're used. We'll provide feedback on methods for managing LIHEAP data. We'll participate in a group discussion and hear from you on any needs for technical assistance. You'll be provided with a checklist for designing a data management system. And then lastly, we'll provide you with an opportunity for some questions and answers. Next slide. Our webinar today is the first of 2 webinars provided specifically for our tribal LIHEAP grantees. The second webinar will be held on September the 4th at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and will be focused on understanding vendor agreements and why they're important. We ask that you will please be on the lookout for additional details on that session. For today's session, we are fortunate to have some very experienced presenters to share with us. Our first presenter is Ms. Megan Yellowhorse. She has been employed with the Community Services Department with the Gila River Indian Community in Sacaton, Arizona since February 2009. She started as the office aide/van driver, and then in 2012 she was promoted to Secretary 3. Recently, Ms. Yellowhorse was promoted to Administrative Assistant in 2016, and she is administrating the various tribal assistance programs in conjunction with LIHEAP. Ms. Yellowhorse received her Associate's in Arts degree from Chandler Gilbert Community College with highest distinction. She enjoys contributing to the community by volunteering and learning more about the Otham and Peeposh cultures. She also enjoys networking and expanding her knowledge. Megan is a native of New Mexico and is a member of the Navajo Nation tribe. Next slide. Unfortunately, Ms. Rayleigh Pierce was not able to join us today, but we will hear from Christine Celentano, who's going to be representing Ms. Pierce. Rayleigh has been the Deputy Director of the Choctaw Nation LIHEAP in Durant, Oklahoma, and she's been in her position for 7 years, and so I think her information is going to be very valuable to us, and I appreciate you, Christine, for sharing that information on Rayleigh's behalf. Next slide. After that, we're going to hear from Faye Hurtado. Faye is currently the Social Services Manager for the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs in Oregon, where she administers the LIHEAP and food distribution program on the reservation and numerous other projects. Once Faye recognized that statistical information and data was needed to assist her program in her program planning, she began to track all information coming into her LIHEAP program, as well as information going to a local action agency. In doing so, she was able to create a baseline to begin collecting needed information about her people. She has also established a well-working relationship with the local action agency and other outside agencies. Next slide. We'll also hear from Jacob Timmons. He is serving as the Special Projects Coordinator with the Aleutian Pribilof Islands Association in Anchorage. Next slide. But first we'll hear from Mr. David Carroll, who's the Managing Director with Apprise and has more than 30 years of experience conducting research on LIHEAP and other low-income energy assistance and energy efficiency programs. He's currently managing a team of contractors who are furnishing training and technical assistance to LIHEAP grantees on performance management under contract to the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Community Services. So with that, I'd like to welcome David to the floor to share some valuable information with us on data management. David?
So as Vicki noted, our job is to help grantees collect and report data to HHS and to help them use those data for program management. Some state grantees have had good data systems for quite a while and have routinely used their data in some pretty innovative ways. They did that without our TNTA assistance. And in fact, many of the TNTA tools we have developed were first developed and used by one of the state grantees for their own program. Our job has been to try to help other state grantees to develop those same capabilities. We've spent a number of years working with state grantees on this, and realistically, we're just starting to see some additional states making program decisions with their data. And what has been key is to work directly with the state grantees, the more experienced state grantees, to find out how they're currently doing their work and to see how those procedures can be disseminated to other grantees. Over the last 2 years, HHS has asked us to work more proactively with tribal tech and tribes on collecting, reporting, and using data for program management. And just as we did 5 years ago with state grantees, we're starting by working to get more understanding of how tribes are currently collecting, reporting, and using data. Just as with the state grantees, we expect that some of you have already put systems in place that meet all of your needs, while others have struggled to keep up with all the paperwork. Our job is to both gather information about successful tribal information management systems and also to get more information about the most critical needs among tribes that feel they need assistance with this process. This slide lists the types of information you're currently collecting and reporting to HHS. But as we know, this is often a one-way street where you're collecting and reporting, but you're not getting that much assistance with how to make use of that information. So I'm sure that many of you have these reports down cold, while others struggle with getting these reports done each year. If you're in the former category, we might contact you to talk about what type of system you use to keep all that information in order. And if you're in the latter group, we encourage you to contact us to talk about how we might help you to make incremental or major improvements in your information system or processing tools so that you can move from the struggling group to the confident group. Can we have the next slide, please? One thing we want to emphasize is that the best way to be successful in managing your data is to have a clear understanding of where it comes from and how you need to manage it. Of course, the most important part of information collection and management is done at the intake stage. The highest priority for you should be to work to develop a way to collect and record those data so that they verify what you need to verify, but also so that you can get access to those data when you need them for other purposes, including reporting and manage your program. If you're facing a challenge with this, you should contact us. We've seen some tools used by other tribes and may even be able to help you develop a simple database to manage this information. Next slide. But it's also important to remember that you're not done with your information after intake. As you make decisions about benefit levels and as you interact with vendors, there's other information you need to record and store in an accessible way. We can also help you to think about that process. One thing that Christine asked us to do is to prepare a checklist so that as you're working on collecting and reporting information, you can review the checklist and that'll help you to think about how data that you collect, that you could collect at each stage in the process, intake, benefits assignment, and interface with vendors, might be useful to you in terms of managing your programs. I also want to alert you that we're actively working with a few tribal program managers, including Jacob, who will be presenting today, to brainstorm ways to collect and use data. And the outcomes from those initiatives will be shared in later webinars and at the national training next year. So that's our role, and that's what we're available to. We might be reaching out to you to find information from you, but we also are available to assist you if you have some issues that you want to address. Next slide. So as part of that whole information collection process, Christine is going to give you the opportunity to tell us what kind of system you're already using, and that's an important first step in understanding the status of tribes with respect to information systems. Christine?
So we want to know what kind of data collection and assessment programs you're currently using for LIHEAP. And with the help of Mark, he's going to put up a poll here, and if you would select which one you're currently using, that'll give us a little bit of information about those of you who are on the phone. So the choices are the Comprehensive Organizational Data Management System, of which LIHEAP is a part, data management system which is specifically designed for LIHEAP, standalone systems such as MS Excel, hand-recorded and calculated in paper files, or other. Out of those that answered, the majority are using Excel, it looks like. And then there's just a couple that indicate their LIHEAP data collection and management is part of an overall organizational system. And then just one indicated that it's designed specifically for LIHEAP. And about 3 of you are still writing everything down and keeping it in paper files. So, okay, thanks, Mark. We're going to go ahead and move on. And we're going to start with Megan Yellowhorse.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So I just wanted to share some helpful information that we've had with our client tracking database. And this is something that we implemented back in 2010. And prior to that, we've had the same experience as you all in doing the paper applications, but we found that we were, our clientele was beginning to increase, and receiving all the paper applications and doing it manually was a little bit time-consuming, and we weren't really able to track our records or keep up-to-date information. So then we started to expand, and we started to use the Excel access, and we started building our database like that. So that started back in 2010. I'm not too sure the whole history on the database, how the vendor was found, but we were able to find a vendor, THO Software, which is out of Wisconsin, and they built a database for us called the Client Tracking. And what it does is we're able to allocate our funds into client tracking for the LIHEAP program. We're able to divide it up between winter, summer, and crisis. And it gives us the opportunity to track our funds, see when we're low or depleting funds, when we kind of need to let our clients know, hey, we're running out of funds, please apply as soon as you can. But not only that, but we're also able to reach back out to all of our clients that have applied in the past and see if they're experiencing any energy burdens. And we're also able to keep records of how many clients, how many households we serve, like with the 5 and under, the other category, as well as our elderly and disabled. So on average right now we serve about 500 clients or households, and we have been awarded for the FY19 year through LIHEAP $110,000. So we did use some of our grant funding in 2010 as part of our administrative costs to pay for a part of the client tracking database. But not only is it used for LIHEAP in our community, but it's also used for the Home Energy Assistance Program, which assists with clients' electricity and other welfare programs that are in the community. So it is very functional. The only downfall about it is that we just need an update on it. So I know that that's pretty pricey, but that would be the only downfall about getting a software, is keeping it up to date. But it's worked really, really well. Just help us with managing our data and see how many clients we serve each year. So we could kind of plan our model plan and see if we need to reach out to more families to see if we could educate them on energy burden or electricity and that sort of thing. So thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome.
And there may be questions. We're going to go ahead and take them at the end. I forgot to mention that. So jot down your questions or go ahead and put them in the chat box and we'll get to them after everyone's presented. So it's poll time. And of those that are using a comprehensive organizational data management system, of which your LIHEAP is a part, we'd like to know if you're happy with that current system, desire improvement, or would like to move to a whole new system. So Mark, if you could put up the poll, please. It looks like we're finished for now. Most are happy that answered this question. 4 desire improvement, and 1 would like to move to a whole new system. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Our next presenter is, would be Ray Lee if she was able to be on, but she is actually doing some LIHEAP outreach in her community, so she wasn't able to participate today. So I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit of information that Ray Lee wanted me to share with you all. So Choctaw has a LIHEAP allocation of $866,649, and they serve approximately 2,500 households. It's worth noting that the tribe contributes money to their program in an amount close to $1 million. So they actually are one of the larger grantees and really manages all this money together. The tribal funds are run just as the LIHEAP funds are. So they started with a software system that was called TAM, T-A-M, and that stands for, I looked it up, is the Assistant Manager. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but they started with that, and she says while it was efficient, it was not fully efficient for their needs. So about 2 to 3 years ago, Choctaw made the switch to a web-based program called OneTribe. And OneTribe allows LIHEAP to store notes on clients' files, process applications, have a wide variety of reports and data that are useful not only to develop their model plan, but also for any research they may have throughout the year. Rayleigh says that with a web-based program, another perk is any community center or field office she goes to while she's doing outreach, she can still access her LIHEAP data via her laptop and her logging into her Choctaw Nation server. She says this is extremely time efficient and she doesn't have to do double the work when she returns to her home office. So they moved from a very specific LIHEAP-based TAM system to this OneTribe, which is a more comprehensive system, but it started out with the LIHEAP program. So the LIHEAP program was the tester program. So they ran through all the kinks and everything with the software developer, and now she said other programs within the tribe are also starting to access the system. And she said one drawback to this is it does make the system a little bit slower when it's web-based, but that's the only drawback. She's really liking the way it works. So we're going to go ahead and do a poll again with those that have a specific LIHEAP-based data management system. And so we'll be asking similar questions. Are you happy with your current system? If you have the LIHEAP a very specific LIHEAP-based system. Are you happy with that system? Do you desire improvement, or would you like to move to a new system? We'll go ahead and keep that open for about 45 seconds or so here. And if you do have a LIHEAP-specific data management system, please go ahead and enter your answers. Okay. So most that have a current system that's dedicated to LIHEAP specifically are happy with the current system, and some, so that would be 6 of the folks online, and then some desire improvement, and that's 2. So that's really good information. 6 of you are super happy. That's great. Okay, so we're going to move on, and we're going to have Faye speak to how she uses Excel to manage her data, and then directly after her we'll also have Jacob, who uses the same system for managing data. So Faye, if you wouldn't mind.
Hi. Hello, everybody. I started a couple of years ago. I manage roughly 113,000, and I serve like a little over 200 households. And when I started, there wasn't anything in place, and we do still use paper applications, and I just had a pile of 200 applications with no. And so when I started looking at the model plan to apply for the next year, there were things that I thought needed change, but I didn't have any documentation to really look at the households overall. So I started putting each application into an Excel spreadsheet so I could look at number of wood stoves in each home, what was their major heating source, those kinds of things to look at in creating my plan for the next year. And what it turned into was, it also helped me in being able to look at it overall. It helped me to, in working closer with the local action agency. As you all know, we were all looking at our state and tribal agreements. And it also allowed me to show that I am actually, that local action agency is serving more of my households than I am. So in doing that, it's also helping me look at maybe renegotiating my agreement with the state of Oregon. It helped me, all of it is in one Excel spreadsheet, so I can manage my, it operates as a cuff account for my checks and balances, and at the year end it made it really simple to report my household. And so it's all, and I just took the application and pretty much titled, made the spreadsheet. I just take each cell and make it match the application. So I'm pretty much just duplicating what's on the application into a spreadsheet, so it makes it easier to look at for planning.
Okay, thanks, Faye. Again, if you have questions, we'll go ahead and hold them to the end of the presenters. And we'll introduce Jacob now. Jacob.
Hi, good morning from Anchorage, Alaska here. Similar to Faye, we've got an allocation of 180,000 and we serve 130 households. We still use paper applications as well. We have an outdated database system that we put all of our applications into. It's CRM by Sockeye, and they no longer have any technical support that they provide us. And so when I started, I was noticing, about 3 years ago, I was noticing some inconsistencies with what the database would put out, and it wasn't calculating all of our words correctly, and when we were running reports out of the database, there was duplication of some applicants, and some were just completely missing. And so that's kind of the reason why I developed our application log, we call it, which is an Excel spreadsheet. The Excel spreadsheet, if you could go to the next slide, please. This is the tail end of my Excel spreadsheet. It's got over 50 columns that collects every piece of information that we get from the paper applications. One of the important parts of our Excel spreadsheet is that we can check that the awards are calculated correctly, and so that I have one column that checks for awards being properly calculated. And then the second, or those last two columns, I check and make sure that the payments went through properly. And so I check with our accounting office. They send me a general ledger, and I make sure all the checks were made on the right dates and that every household was credited properly with that last two checks. If we can go to the next slide, please. In addition to all the kind of basic demographic information, we collect what community. We serve 10 different communities, my organization. And it's important that we break it down by communities to see what the different community needs are. And so we can break down how many households are served in each community. And from that, we can based on the population of each of our communities, we can see which communities are really knowledgeable of our program and which ones we can target for outreach. Another demographic information that we collect is the employment status. And since our LIHEAP program is run under our workforce development, we can use a lot of this data to target communities and kind of populations by their working status. And so we can see in the second graph that we have a whole lot of non-working adult age people in our communities, and we can really target them with our workforce development funds and programs that way. We also collect which vendors we send payments to, dwelling types and poverty percentages, and yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. This shows I use a number of sum functions and count functions to come up with all these graphs, and we also collect which types of agencies employ our LIHEAP applicants. And so we can see in that first graph that there's mainly SSI clients that we get, but we also have a lot that are employed by the tribes, that are employed in the fishing industry, by corporations, by native corporations. And finally, in that last graph, I can break down our the percentage of our applicants that fall into the different categories related to the poverty guidelines. And so all this data we can come out of our Excel file, and it looks great on the reports I send to my administration for their review and for their information, as well as it lets me easily pull all that information for our federal reporting. So it works out, the Excel is working well. The issue is it's very cumbersome, and we're basically re-entering every piece of information that we collect from our paper application and putting it into this Excel spreadsheet. And that's about all I've got.
Okay, thanks, Jacob. I know those slides were hard to see. I think Jacob wanted to show you the different kinds of things he can do once the data's in there. So we just wanted to be able to provide a visual and a little bit of assistance as he was speaking to how they collect and use their data. So we're going to go ahead, and those are two examples of using Excel, and we're going to go ahead with a poll. So those of you that are using Excel, same three questions. Are you happy with the current system? Do you desire improvement, or would you like to move to a whole new system? And we'll go ahead and open that poll. Mark? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up this poll. It looks like the majority of the people who answered are happy with their system, 75%. 50% desire improvement out of that 75%, and 25% are interested in moving to a whole new system. Okay, so I was informed that Ray Lee was able to jump on and join us. So I wanted to be able to give Ray Lee just a couple of minutes if she had anything to add to what I shared with you. And again, Ray Lee is from the Choctaw Nation. Ray Lee, are you on?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. I'm so sorry. I didn't.
Oh, it's great that you're on. So
yeah, I just now got on, and so I'm assuming what you probably presented was just some of the what I sent to you. Just to go off of that, I'll just do a brief overview. We use a program called OneTribe. Like I stated before, it is web-based. Therefore, it's very convenient. I'm able to have access to it, wherever I am at, trying to assist our LIHEAP clients. For ours, with OneTribe, we are able to have the software developer to build specific reports for our program. So an instance is something that I use is we automatically mail out letters to our elderly come the first of the program. So they were able to design a report specifically for that to pull specifically 60 and older within the 2.5 counties, whether they're tribal members or other tribes. And so that is something that is specific for the LIHEAP program. We use all of those reports for our model plan for the household number. We get all of our numbers off of there for actually any report that we give to our own tribal council, to upper management. With OneTribe, like I said, they're able to build those reports specific to what we're needing, so I can give them a list of what we're needing, and they're able to build that. With OneTribe we input all of our data and information for the client specifically on their, not account, but on their file. I process the applications in OneTribe out of that same file. I send the payments directly. I batch them over to our finance department off of OneTribe, and then again, all of that information generates onto the reports, and so that's how I'm able to pull the information.
okay. Hey, thanks so much. And this way, if people have questions for your system, you'll be on to be able to answer them. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I apologize for being late. I just got back from one of the community centers.
No, it's great that you're able to join us.
All right, I'll be here.
Thanks. Okay, so we're going to move on, and then this is a question about training and technical assistance. What type, if any, training and technical assistance regarding LIHEAP data management are you interested in? We have a few options here, conference session topics, webinars, online resources, peer-to-peer mentoring matches, other, or none. So if you would take a few minutes to answer that, that will give us some really valuable information. And for those of you who might be a little unfamiliar with the peer-to-peer mentoring matches, that is a program that that exists with the National Center for Appropriate Technology, or NCAT, we call it. They run the clearinghouse, and they developed a peer-to-peer mentoring project. And under that project, you would be matched up with someone that has information about their data system or can help you in some way, any subject area actually under LIHEAP. And so there are tribal folks that have been in their situation for a long time, maybe even some in a short time, but have gotten quite good in one area and are offering their services to mentor another tribal coordinator. Or you can sign up as someone who is looking for that expertise. So you can actually be the person with the expertise or find someone with the expertise. It's a really neat program that hasn't quite gotten way off the ground yet for tribal grantees, but we're hoping more and more tribes want to take advantage of that. So I've given quite a bit of time for you to answer this one, and we have 9, 14, 17 responses. It'd be great to get a couple more, but looks like it's closed. Thanks, Mark. That's fine. Okay, so it looks like webinars are something you're interested in. That's great. And then the online resources is also something you're interested in. All right. So with those answers, we're going to go ahead and move to the discussion portion of our webinar. All our presenters are online. Fortunately, we even have Rayleigh online, who we didn't expect to make it. And we do have some OCS staff online as well, including Vicki and a couple others. So if we could go ahead and open up the discussion. If anyone has, I see Nancy Conley has a question, and it is, what is the cost of the one tribe? I guess that would be for you, Rayleigh.
Okay, as far as the cost goes, I was going to say I was just emailing with, I'm not sure how much it is now. If that is something that we could exchange information and I could look into that, to give her more of a specific. We use a software developer that's located here in Durant, but I do know that they service, outside of the area. He was actually just here just a little bit ago. I was discussing with the Cherokee Nation about one tribe. So if you wanted to, or we could pass along information and I could conversate with her once I found out specific details, I could definitely do that.
Okay. Thanks, Rayleigh. And thanks, Nancy, for your question. Jacob, it's true. I thought about that too. There might be more than one option that people would like to consider in terms of technical assistance. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to give me a little bit of feedback on those different types you would be interested in, Jacob. Jacob, are you on mute?
Oops, sorry, I'm on mute. Oh yeah, I would have selected, I probably would have selected the conference sessions as well as the peer-to-peer.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah, I thought about that after the fact. So that's good. I think that Pamela also said she would choose a couple of different options, Pamela Murphy from BBNA. Pamela, if you could go ahead and share which types of technical assistance you're interested in, that would be great. And then if you wouldn't mind telling us why. I'm really curious about what kinds of technical assistance people are interested in this area. So anyone who has any questions or information, I would love to hear from you. And Mark, can you unmute Pamela's line so she could share with us the types of technical assistance she's interested in and then why?
Hi, this is Pamela from BBNA. And so
Hi, Pamela.
I would have chosen a couple of things. The webinar is one just because it's for us, travel's always hard coming out of our area. Conferences are nice, but webinars are something quick and easy, and we can usually log on and get the information we need. The peer-to-peer, because I'm new to this, and I actually talked to Jacob a little bit just to kind of get more understanding of it, because sometimes it's just confusing to know what we're collecting and why, and talking to somebody else who has some more experience or some more information just kind of clears it up. And then, of course, online resources, and again, just because of accessibility for us.
Okay, that sounds great. And again, Pamela's in Alaska, and she's in rural Alaska. She's in Dillingham, so not always easy to get out and get to trainings or conferences. So thanks, Pamela. I appreciate that. I'm wondering, I have a question actually from David. Can some of you give us an idea of a best time for training? So is there a best time that you feel conference, for example, or webinars? What is the best time of year to do that kind of training? Does anyone have some feedback on that? Feel free to write in the chat box if you've got some thoughts or ideas on best time for training. So I'm hearing August, September, October from Pamela, who's in Alaska. Spring and summer from Lisa. Lisa, where are you from?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're in Washington State.
Oh, okay.
Organization, and we're in Washington State.
Okay.
And there is just many fiscal year end, and winter is always a little busier time for this program, so not maybe the best time for having the training stuff. But spring and the earlier summer is great.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. It looks like there's more responses, and it seems summer webinars in the afternoons. Yeah, see that this one worked out well for you. I can't see them all. Spring or summer, definitely consensus here. July and August is a better time for Sandra. And spring and summer for Laura in Utah. That sounds like that's pretty unanimous, David. That's the feedback on the training time. Does anyone have any questions for the presenters? If you want to speak, go ahead and put something in the chat box, and we'll go ahead and unmute your line, and you can talk to Ray Lee or Jacob, Faye, or Megan. Looks like Jacob has a question. Okay, so I don't have any questions at this moment, but I'm going to encourage you not to be shy and come on, go ahead and ask some questions. Maybe the types, which hasn't been answered yet, the types of technical assistance you might want on data management is something that you think we're interested in. You know, for instance, if you're at the paper files, paper applications, paper files, and you're not using any kind of data management software like Excel or more advanced program, you might have some questions on how you make the next step, or maybe Megan can share how they made the next step from paper to move into a data management system. But these are the kinds of questions we're hoping you'll throw at our presenters, or even a prize who's online, or OCS. We have lots of people typing in, so I'm just waiting for them to land, and then we'll go ahead and get them answered. So while those come in, there's a question from David for Jacob. It is pretty expensive to develop a data entry screen as a front end for Excel. Would that make your
inexpensive?
Inexpensive, right? It's inexpensive. Would that make your transcription process more efficient? So it's pretty inexpensive to develop a data entry screen as a front end for Excel. And so the question for you, Jacob, is, would that make your transcription process more efficient?
David, I've not actually heard of a data entry screen as a front end for Excel, and I would love to look into that more.
Okay. Thanks, Jacob.
Okay, on our next call.
Sounds good, David.
Okay, so Sandra Pipe-Ricker has a question. Is there only one national conference a year? And by the time she gets information, it's too late to register. Good information. Thank you for sharing that with us. There generally is one national conference a year. A few years ago, they were doing 2 regional conferences. I'm not sure if they'll be going back to that. Vicki, do you have any information on that, or Shanice?
No, I don't have any information about that. I know, like you said, a few years ago, it's something that they did. That was before I came on, and they kind of talk about how we want to set that up every year. It's kind of a discussion, but here lately we've just done the one, and I don't have any information about whether or not that's going to be different next time.
Okay. All right, so to be determined. We'll definitely try and get that information out to grantees as soon as possible. As soon as we have it, we'll get it out to you all. And of course,
yeah. I'd also put a little bit of a plug in for the folks that were not able to join us at the conference this year. I'll just say that it was a very good conference. There was a lot of good information shared. And all of the presentations that were made at that conference and the handouts that went along with those presentations are available online to everyone that wants to see them. They're available on the conference registration website. Everyone should have access to that. If you do not have access to that conference registration website where those presentations are held, then please reach out to your regional liaison, and we're more than happy to send you that link so that everyone has access to that information.
Thanks, Vicki. Yeah, that's really good information. We'll actually include that link next time. I don't have it loaded up right now. So Radley Davis had a question. If you could unmute Radley, he could go ahead and ask that directly. It looks like to either Jacob or Faye. You on, Radley? So just to clarify, Radley, you could answer yes or no. That's information you would like more training and technical assistance on. Creating and using simple data management system like Excel that relates to applications and can be used for reports.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but I have extremely difficulty in manipulating an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. Is this Nancy?
This is Nancy.
And from Alabama, right?
Yeah,
so everyone knows.
Excel, my southern voice.
Yes. Okay, so you're looking for some technical assistance on just manipulating and setting up and using an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I do. Because, I mean, everything I know on the computer, I'm self-taught. When I went to high school, we did typing with the old type. We didn't even have electric typewriters. We had them old manual ones without the letters on the keyboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need some training. I understand.
Yeah, I just don't know how to do it. I mean, I can say some Hail Marys when it comes to doing that.
Okay, well, this is good. This is good information. We need to know what folks are after, what they'd like to see, and that's really helpful. So thank you for that. And so Radley says yes, they'd like to strengthen their data system that they're currently using. So that's the kind of training and technical assistance they'd like as well. So you're not alone, Nancy.
Good.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments they'd like to ask?
This is David. I'd like to ask a question of Jacob again, or of Faye. So Jacob and Faye, you both probably seem like you figured out how to use Excel pretty well. And you probably do the same kind of manipulation each year when you do this. Do you think it would be possible for you to share that with us, and then we could build a little tutorial for people like Nancy, and she could just have a step-by-step exercise of how to do this? Does that seem possible to you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty Excel savvy, and so yeah, I can definitely share those. I have a few formulas that I use kind of over and over again to get all the data I need, so I can share those with you. If you're able to kind of put it in a user-friendly way, then.
Well, yeah, and that's what that's what we're trying to do. We know that some of you are very technically savvy, and you've found a way to meet your own needs. And I think our most valuable way of contributing to the rest of the tribes is to help to disseminate those procedures. So again, if any of the others of you have, what you think is a pretty nifty way of getting a particular report done, we'd love to sit and talk to you about it, and then we could document it. We could give, Nancy, we could give you some just direct training and walk you through the tutorial. For others, we could do an online resource that could be done. We could work with Christine and Tribal Tech on making sure those are deployed in a way that you all can make use of them.
Okay.
That's great, David.
Would that work for you, Nancy?
That'd work great for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to type on the same equipment that you did.
So you know what I'm talking about.
So that's a great resource. Is there a way, David, that that folks could get in touch with you directly if you'd like them to?
Easy to find us. Just Google a prize energy research, and you should be able to find us. And I've got lots of I won't guarantee I'll answer every one of your questions, but if I get something from you, I will either answer it directly or pass it on to Dan or Jorge or Elena or Pragya or Francisco, and they'll get it done for you.
Awesome. Thank you. So again, a prize is APPRISE, and they can be easily Googled. If you couple that with energy, it'll come right up. We'll also add their information to this PowerPoint. I know that doesn't help you right now, but once it's posted, it'll have their information at the end of the PowerPoint. I'm sorry I didn't put that on there. Okay, let's see. I think that's going to wrap things up for us unless anyone has any more questions for any of the presenters or OCS, online, myself. Okay. I'm going to give it another minute just in case anyone has anything they'd like to add.
I've got to get off. Y'all have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Nancy.
Bye-bye.
You too. Stay cool. Okay, so
it feels a lot better down.
Good. Good. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. So this is a list of the resources that are down the bottom here. The peer-to-peer mentoring project, or fill out an interest sheet to get started. Those are the links for that. And there's also a grantee forum that you could join if you're interested. So if you wanted to find out more details, that's the first link. If you just want to jump in and get started and say, yes, I'd like to be paired with another tribal grantee, and I need help with data management, or I need help with benefit matrix development, or I need help with outreach or some ideas about outreach, this is a place you can sign up and potentially get more information from another tribal LIHEAP coordinator. Also, the next webinar is Understanding Vendor Agreements and Why Are They Important? That's on September 4th. That'll be from 2 to 3 p.m. and hopefully we'll get everyone to come back and join us for that webinar. Vicki?
Okay, thanks, Christine. So everyone, that concludes our webinar on managing your program information for planning and decision making. I'd like to thank all of the presenters today. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to share. I'd also like to thank all of the participants. Thank you all for joining in. We hope that you enjoyed it and were able to pick up some useful information. We're looking forward to hosting you and welcoming you at the September 4th webinar. And we hope everyone has a great day. Thank you all so much.